the Trade Union Association of Ghana is sounding alarm over the rapid depreciation of the cedi, which, coupled with soaring freight charges, is severely impacting the business community, particularly the trading sector. In a statement signed by the president of GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obeng, the association lamented that the customs duties benchmark in dollars at the port is crippling trade and commerce, leading to severe hardship for businesses and consumers alike. We'll bring you that statement shortly. First, data analyst Kofi J joins me with details of the cedi performance so far. Kofi J, thank you for your time here on Newsdesk. Where are we right now?
Well, firstly, good morning and thanks for having me. Currently what is happening in the international space is that you have the US dollar actually throwing a very long shadow on almost all currencies. So it's more or less like a global problem. It's not just the Ghana cedi that is actually suffering at the moment. You have, currencies like the Japanese yen and then also the Chinese currency, as well as Sweden and Switzerland's currencies all losing against the US, the greenback. If you come to Ghana, for instance, since the beginning of the year, we've lost, the cedis has depreciated by almost more than 10%. Now, we are beginning to look at a currency that currently is one of the fastest depreciating currencies in Africa. And if you look at the next slide, that talks about, where we were last year and where we are currently, you see that the depreciation has really, really gone up. So let's do some comparative analysis. 2023 and 2024, we are comparing two periods. So looking at 1st January to 14th May 2023, you saw that the cedi was around 9 cedis, 80 pesos, moved to 11 cedis, 59 pesos, adding almost 1 cedi, 80 pesos within that period. Now, if you come to 2024, January 2024, to March 14, 2024, we are looking at the cedi adding more than 2 cedis. Now we are talking about almost 2 cedis, 30 pesos, to the trade, its exchange. Now, why is this a problem? This has become a problem for traders who are currently now complaining because, let's say you have a capital of 100,000 Ghana cedis. But see, at the beginning of the year, that was worth, let's say, $8,400. 100,000 Ghana cedis was worth $8,400. Now, because the cedi is trading beyond or above 14 cedis, that same capital has now reduced by almost $1,500. Now, that $1,500 is huge because you need this money to do the trading. Not only has your capital reduced, but also you've heard them complain about the freight and also the duties that they pay, because all of these are pegged in dollars, and you need to convert, a lot of cedis to get, some of these rates and other, port duties paid. And so it is affecting their trading capital, and then also the fact that this is not just, a Ghana situation; it's a global problem, but there's something that we should have taken advantage of, and that is the fact that currently we've suspended, payment on all our debts, and so you do not have that financing that we used to do on our interest payment like we used to because of the suspension that we have, and so we are supposed to have these currencies available for the Bank of Ghana to give to the BDCs and those who are bringing in, goods from outside. But the problem is that the country's import bill keeps on, increasing. We are spending so much on so many things.
I was even coming to that. Yeah, make your point, because I was coming to that. Because the concern now is that as an end user, as a consumer, these charges will be pushed down to me, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Once you have duties which are coming in the form of taxes, the person who is going to sell the commodity to you is looking at how he will pass it on, because nobody wants to do business and run at a loss. The end game here is profit. And so if the end game is profit and you keep increasing my cost function, I'll find ways and means to push that cost function also onto how much I sell it onto the ordinary Ghanaian. That's why we see that a significant portion of inflation currently is coming from imported goods, because you pay so much on these goods, and when they come into the country, for instance, if you are paying duties on vehicles, you see how vehicle prices have actually skyrocketed within a very short period of time. In a span of two or 3 years, the price of vehicles have almost increased by 3 or 4 folds. And that is stemming from the fact that these traders need to find ways and means to pay the duties. And when they pay the duties, definitely they will pass it on to those who are going to get the final goods to consume.
But isn't the IMF deal that we currently have supposed to help us with some of these issues? Because if the cedi keeps depreciating at this rate, by the end of the year, we should be hitting 20 cedis, isn't it?
Well, that's sort of like a wild projection. But I mean, if you look at the rate of depreciation, anything can happen, especially if we do not do anything about it. And the fact that it is coming from external shocks. And when it happens like that, it is so difficult to curb it. But what the Bank of Ghana can do is when they are able to get the needed forex buffers. And this year, for instance, we are expecting more than $1 billion from different sources. The IMF, for instance, has pledged to give us more than $720 million this year. We are still negotiating with them. We need to meet some, deadlines and also some contingencies that we need to clear, especially with our debt rework. We need to get a needed financing assurance. So all the monies are there. The monies that can help the country's currency to be strong are there. But the things we need to do, the hurdles we need to cross for the IMF to do this disbursement, for the World Bank to also come in and do additional disbursement, we've not been able to do that. If you look at a sector like the cocoa industry that used to bring in a lot of forex, currently we all know what is going on in the cocoa sector, where we've been looking at the data, the first 2 months of this year compared to last year. Last year, we were able to raise more than $711 million from cocoa exports in just 2 months. This year, we are talking about a little about $500 million. That's 200 million short of what we used to export last year. So all of these things are affecting the economy and then also the strength of the currency. Cocoa used to be the backbone of the Ghanaian currency, but right now the yields were producing above 1 million metric tons in 2020 and 2021. Now we're falling below 600,000 metric tons, and Ivory Coast is still within that million metric tons, and other countries are catching up with us like Ecuador and then also Nigeria and Cameroon. So the problem is not just about getting money from multinational organization to get the cedi on a good path, but also looking at some of the commodities that hitherto used to bring in a lot of stability. Cocoa board used to attract a lot of syndicated loans, but right now when they go to the market, because of how tainted they are with the government decision to default on its debt, and the fact that cocoa board itself is also doing debt restructuring on its cocoa bills, all of these things are not making that entity attractive to bring in the needed forex. Also, Bank of Ghana is also in a very difficult position at the moment because you rely on some of these commodities to bring in the forex, and Bank of Ghana is not getting them. And most of the dollars that are coming in are also going into the black market. For instance, Bank of Ghana is not able to trace about $2 billion of remittances that flow into this country, whilst the World Bank is recording $4 billion. Bank of Ghana is recording $2 billion on behalf of the country. So that difference of $2 billion in terms of remittances, where is it going, and also who is actually taking that money outside of the country? And then also the fact that if you look at most of our gold deals, we get a lot from gold. For instance, last year, gold brought in about $7 billion. That's the total export. But in terms of what actually hit Bank of Ghana's coffers, or what actually came to us as a profit, is below $1 billion. So $7 billion in export. But how much we are getting as a country is below $1 billion. So about $6 billion is sent out of this country. And all of this puts pressure on the cedi. So it's not just one problem, the problem is that it's not coming from one source. It's global, and also the fact that domestic-wise, we are not doing certain things right.
Thank you so much, Isaac Ofeje, data analyst here at Joy News. Now, let's bring you details of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, their statement, because they're concerned about how the cedi depreciation is affecting trade in the country. It starts by saying the Ghana Union of Traders Association expresses deep frustration over the current depreciation of the cedi, which is creating a big mess for the business community, especially the trading sector. The seeming crisis, coupled with the ever-rising freight charges from Asia, are rendering the cost of doing business unbearable. The current state of affairs has far-reaching implications and has caused prices of goods and services to increase for the consuming public. The inflationary pressure resulting from the depreciating cedi have pushed the cost of goods through the roof, making it increasingly difficult for the business community to stay afloat. And they finally say that the purchasing power of the consuming public has also been affected, thereby reducing the turnover of businesses. Well, that's a concern raised by GUTA. They're having a press conference this morning, and I'm sure that by the time they're done, we'll bring you details of that press conference, because they want government to act immediately to ensure they cushion the business community, else you might have to be paying more for anything you purchase in future. That's a threat they are making, and we'll get more on that in subsequent bulletins.